Story 1. Communication. If something bothers you, talk to your spouse. Do not hold it in. Approach the subject calmly. Listen and do not immediately get offended by their feelings if they come to you. Work together. Story 2. Give each other grace. Forgive. Recognize that your strengths are likely their weaknesses and vice versa. You make up for each other, and that is okay. Work on yourself. Be independent enough that you do not need your partner, but stay together because you want to. Love each other. Love is a verb. Actively love your partner. Marry a good person. Remember that they are a good person even though they have weaknesses, because we all do. Have fun together. Story 3. Design your relationship together. Talk about big goals and small ones. Tell each other how you like to argue, love, and be intimate. Then redesign it whenever you want. Read the same therapy books together and discuss them. Evolve together. Understand who the person in front of you is and what is projection. Talk about the little things that bother you too, so they do not build up into resentment. Treat each other with the love you have for yourself and more. Small changes are easier than big ones built up over time. Story 4. You, your spouse, and any children you might have together form a complete family unit. You solve problems together as a family. Do not let aunts, siblings, parents, cousins, or others come between you and your family. Story 5. Reminders and notes. Every 5 weeks I get a reminder to buy flowers. 5 weeks feels right because 4 weeks is too frequent and 6 or 7 weeks is too long apart. I keep a notebook on my phone with gift ideas. They tend to come up randomly and never around a birthday or anniversary. Story 6. Something my husband and I have recently implemented. What I am trying to say to you is A, B, C. What I am hearing you say is X, Y, Z. What are you hearing me say? And what are you trying to say to me? Arguments that we have had have often been rooted in miscommunication. I was not understanding what he was trying to say and vice versa. Whenever we realize that we have a gap in our communication, we take a moment to express that. Once we get what we actually mean across, we usually discover that we are on the same page, just not using the same words. Another thing is the gentle reminder that we are on the same team. There is no need to argue or fight. We are both trying to do whatever will make both of us the happiest. Nobody is against the other. We are in this together. Story 7. Don't sweat the small stuff. Pick your battles. Always make a little time for each other. I have been together for 33 years. Story 8. Bring up issues early so you can discuss them while you are still able to talk about them calmly. Do not be defensive. Be honest. If someone says something negative about what you do or do not defend your actions. Work together to solve the problem. This may mean you have to explain your actions and reasoning, but that is not the same as being defensive. Story 9. I usually get downvoted for this one, but it is a hill I will die on. Your spouse's happiness comes before that of your children. They will gain far more from seeing a happy marriage than from going to soccer or having the latest game console. Story 10. When you are angry, sometimes the best thing you can do is to go to bed. Almost everyone says otherwise, but they are wrong. Story 11. Many fights start when a couple is tired from a stressful week. Look at your patterns of fighting, when and where they occur. Then make the changes. For example, when we first got married, if we did fight, it was on a Friday night when we were both exhausted. We learned not to have long discussions or try to make decisions on Fridays. It really helped us. Identify your personal and couple patterns in a journal to break the cycles. Story 12. So, I learned this early and it is key. On any home project, one spouse is in charge and the other is not. It does not matter which. I learned this from my parents, who celebrated their 60th anniversary last winter. Story 13. Marry someone you can truly trust and who is smart enough to avoid putting themselves in unwise situations. Story 14. Communication is key. I wish I had known sooner that openly discussing feelings and needs can prevent misunderstandings and strengthen the relationship. Story 15. Alone time. Married for 9 years, together 17, with a couple of awesome little kids. I love my partner dearly, but we have always been independent people. and alone time remains important. Once you have kids, you spend a lot of time together, which I love so much. But I also love that I don't have to pretend to be excited about the sports network, and my husband doesn't interfere with my too hot to handle watching. I love our time together and love our time apart. Story 16. Underpromise but over-deliver. It is better to say, I am going out with friends and will be home at 11, and then arrive at 10:45 than to say, I am going out with friends and will be home at 10, and get home at 11. Apply this principle to everything to build the expectation that you value their time. This approach helps you maintain a great balance between personal time and relationship time. Story 17. Stop being defensive when your partner comes to you with a genuine issue. First, listen to them with an open mind, acknowledge their feelings, then communicate. Story 18. Do not marry someone who only needs you to be their servant, psychiatrist, therapist, psychologist, maid, pet sitter, grocery shopper, landscaper, and trash taker. It is exhausting. Story 19. Separate bed covers. Very rarely do two partners have the same sleeping temperature. Separate covers mean you can both be comfortable no matter what. Story 20. Have the house professionally cleaned every 2 weeks. Plan ahead. Save your money. Do what you have to do, but prioritize this. Story 21. Assumptions cause resentment, so speak up. Be clear and calm, but honest. Both need to be able to hear a real complaint and accept that it is not an attack, but a frustration that affects both of you. If you want them to change, you have to be willing to change as well. Ride or die means always, at any time, in any situation. If you don't like them enough for that, don't sign up. Lastly, integrity underlies everything else. If you honor your word, say what you mean, are where you say you will be, and do what you say you will do, all else can be worked out. We are working on year 38 married, 43 together. Story 22. I found that not being judgmental works wonders. If your spouse does something in a way you consider incorrect, let them smile to yourself and love them anyway. Don't sweat the small stuff. It has worked for us for the last 17 years. Story 23. Learn to understand if or when their menstrual cycle might impact their personality. Once we both became aware of this, many of the one-time fights stopped occurring. Hormones are real. Their impact is real. This applies to both males and females. Do not underestimate their impact on personality. Story 24. Whenever you disagree about something, bid for the right to get your way. Okay, if we can paint the bedroom blue, I will do all of the laundry for the next 2 months. If we paint the bedroom green, you can decide where we go for vacation this year. Keep bidding until someone accepts and everyone is happy. It sounds silly and unnecessary because usually when you let your partner have their way, you do it voluntarily to make them happy. But then 10 years later, one of you wakes up, looks around and says, I hate every room in this house. I've never picked a vacation destination, and I didn't even want to get that dog. Probably the other person feels the same way about a bunch of things too. If you negotiate everything, everyone always feels like they had a say, and everyone always gets something their way. Slightly related, don't make sacrifices for your spouse without telling them because they may be doing the same thing for you, and you both may be building up resentments about it. Maybe neither of you actually wants what the other person is doing. Story 25. If your husband loves golf and you do not, be quiet about it and let him golf. I still need to bite my tongue until it bleeds, practically, but I really try not to complain about how much time it takes, how expensive it is, or how often he goes. I spent a lot of summers complaining about it, and it made us both unhappy. Story 26. You can both have your own interests and pursue self-fulfillment alone and as a couple. Having things that are uniquely yours and things you share together is okay. Do not give up your individual interests. Story 27. Don't even bother trying to win arguments. Happier wife, happier life. I have some boundaries, but most arguments are not worth it. Story 28. Having the willingness to set boundaries, hold yourself accountable, apologize when necessary, and find a mutual resolution in the face of a disagreement is the best way to keep a relationship healthy. Tackle hard problems together, but be willing to give your spouse space to handle things on their own as well. Story 29. If communication is breaking down, do the ABCs from cognitive behavioral therapy. Affect, behavior, cognition. This is the closest you will ever be to reading your partner's mind. Understanding how they live and react to the situation, and vice versa, will help you solve nearly every solvable problem. Time, patience, and understanding are obviously key. Story 30. I would do absolutely anything, and I mean anything, to make my husband happy, and he would do the same for me. In past relationships, I felt like I was giving too much. Now it is different. I can give my all because he is giving just as much back. Nothing makes me feel safer, happier, or more in love than that. Story 31. Never stop dating each other. A marriage is not 50-50. Some days one person may give 20% and the other 60%. The important thing is to support each other and build each other up. Story 32. Before you bring up something that is really bothering you, spend some time considering what the problem is on your end. If your spouse brings up something that is bothering them, it is okay to pause the discussion and ask for some time to consider the problem, then revisit the discussion in a day or two. Example: my husband wanted more sex than I did, and he wanted me to initiate more. Instead of reacting harshly about how I was exhausted with a baby, toddler, college, and a job, I took the time to identify my barriers, wrote them down, then revisited the conversation with him. Morning sex, after we brushed our teeth and before I was exhausted. Meeting during lunch breaks, him taking over childcare one night a week, me busying the kids and slipping into the bathroom after he showered for a quick moment occasionally. Him telling me I am still beautiful and sexy even after 2 babies in 2 years, connecting via text or phone calls during the day, and getting a babysitter one night a week made a major difference for us. It was not a perfect solution for either of us, but we each knew the other was prioritizing meeting our needs, and that was enough to happily get us through that season of life. Your partner's needs and wants are not the problem. The obstacles to fulfilling those needs and wants are. Identify the obstacles individually and together, then work on the problems together. Before you have a long, drawn-out discussion about an issue, find out how strongly your partner feels about it. We do this on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the strongest. If you are at a 2 and your partner is at an 8, let them have their way without discussing it. Problem solved. Story 33. Solving the problem or offering solutions to the problem just described is less important than listening and asking how that makes your significant other feel. Story 34. Not being unpleasant takes practice, and I only started trying in 2024. It does wonders. No more sloppy steaks for me. Story 35. Communication. Obvious, right? But it is not just talking and listening. You have to learn how your partner hears you too, and now you hear them, and vice versa. Expectations and filling in the gaps on meaning can turn something completely innocuous into a huge fight. My parents, long divorced, were a shining example of this, and I learned what not to do. I am very proud of the fact that more than 20 years later, my husband and I have had probably fewer than 10 actual fights. Disagreements and annoyances? Sure, but we can actually talk about things and work together. The shorter version is to aim for us versus the problem instead of versus each other. Story 36. When we are arguing, I imagine I am watching it on television. Inevitably, it looks ridiculous and often meaningless, so I back off. Story 37. Learn to say sorry and admit when you were wrong. Communication is key. Be open and transparent about everything. Story 38. Red flags, even small ones, will never turn into green flags. If you don't like exactly how they are right now, really think long and hard about marrying them. Story 39. Stop striving for a 50-50 split of responsibilities. Find out what each of you does best and divide tasks that way. It will never be completely equal, but everyone will be happier. Story 40. Pay attention to the small red flags early on so you do not end up marrying the wrong person. Do not settle, do not compromise, and do not get married until you find the right person. There is no marriage hack that can help you if you marry the wrong person. Story 41. The politeness, consideration, compassion, and kindness you show your spouse should be more than what you show strangers or coworkers. If you would not go up to a stranger or coworker and call them a lazy person, why would you do it to your spouse? Yet, all too often, we yell and say things to our spouse that we would not dare say in public to an acquaintance. Why does your spouse get less consideration than someone you pass by in a park? Story 42. Take Julia's advice. Julia Child advocated the 3 F's. You have to feed your man, flatter your man, and favor your man. Story 43. Laugh. Always laugh. When you are mad, when you are happy, always laugh together. And you can go to bed angry. Sometimes you need time to cool off. Sometimes let things go for a little while. Story 44. My husband and I have separate bedrooms because we sleep better that way. He snores and I move around a lot in my sleep. We are both self-employed, so we see each other around the house much more than if we worked outside. We like having our own space as well. Story 45. Happy wife, happy life is the exact opposite of what makes a happy life. I figured it out about 9 years ago, and life has been easy since then. Story 46. Wishing I knew I had new needs during pregnancy. It affected my relationship, and I wish I could read minds. Story 47. If an argument is going in circles, have an established rule that either person can say pause, and then a 15-minute break is taken. We have found this allows us to cool down enough to actually listen to each other when disagreements become unproductive. The pause is not used just to shut up the other person. The point is to show you recognize the disagreement is not going well and you need a moment to calm down. It shows the other person that you want to be productive, and usually it helps them calm down too. We do not need it very often, but it has been helpful during the rare times we do. Story 48. Because we change, grow, and evolve at different rates and in different directions at different times, a healthy long-term relationship requires renegotiation from time to time to reset the emotional labor, the household labor, and everything else to keep things moving in the same general direction. Story 49. Everything can be worked out except for these two, in my opinion. 1. Addiction. 2. Infidelity. Everything else is insignificant when it's you and them versus the world. Story 50. No matter what, a prenuptial agreement is important. Make sure you have it completed months before the wedding and before money is spent towards the big day. Story 51. There is no hack, just communication. If my wife or I have a problem with the other, we respectfully and kindly point it out. If one of us is struggling and needs support, we ask. If one of us hurts the other's feelings, we bring it up and try to figure out how to avoid that moving forward. Sure, conversations are tough and sometimes not very fun, but my wife and I don't really fight so much as have a conversation. Sometimes it's super serious sitting there talking, and other times it's having it while we play Stardew Valley together. Just communicating what's going on, how each other are feeling, and what each other's needs are has made a noticeable difference in the strength of my marriage versus some friends I know who don't communicate. That's just what's worked for me and my wife, though. Every relationship is different. Story 52. Leave immediately when you have doubt. If that person is not what you are looking for, you will find happiness somewhere else. Story 53. Marriage isn't 50-50. It is 60-40 with both people trying to give 60. Saw this somewhere, probably another Reddit thread, and it stuck with me. Story 54. Have serious conversations early, before you become emotionally and sexually involved. Once you have sex, people often stop talking much, and it clouds the situation. Date 1. Is there chemistry? Do you enjoy being with this person? Do you share similar values? Date 2. Where do they see their life in 5 years? 10 years? Story 55. Make a habit of saying thank you to each other, even for the small and insignificant things, and even for what is routine and expected. Story 56. This comedian jokes about never saying the first or second thing that comes to mind when you disagree or are upset with your spouse. I have been literally doing this for decades, way before this comedian, because this was shared with me by a patient of mine. He and his wife had been married for more than 50 years at the time. Yes, it is funny but very useful. This rule has saved me on many occasions. Story 57. Love is not a beautiful, uncontrollable rush of emotions. It is work. It is commitment that you have to choose every single day. The minute you stop choosing, It is when you fall out of love. Story 58. This is more of a tip. Find something that annoys or causes stress for your partner and help with it. Your partner will appreciate the effort, you will get credit, it will be very visible, and the entire mood of the day will shift. My wife hates dirty dishes just because of the visual clutter in the kitchen. If I am up early the next day, I take care of the dishes, so it is one less thing to worry about. It is not to say only do the dishes once a week, but put in extra effort when you see stress building and do something that makes their life easier. Fill up the car without being asked. Make dinner or get takeout after a busy day. Make them a drink and so on. The key is to do something you know will be meaningful for your partner, even if it requires little effort without them expecting it. It is even easier if you find something that takes little to no time but means a lot to your partner. Keep at it. Story 59. Have regular check-ins to talk about the relationship so things do not build up or fester. Set aside conscious time with clear heads to talk things through and, more importantly, listen. We do them weekly. Often it is, I have nothing, this past week was good. But when we need to talk, it is there. This helps us avoid letting things build up. It also gives us distance from times when we are more activated, emotional, or angry, so that we can focus on moving forward together through challenges. Story 60. That sounds really hard. Communication has been remarkably smoother when I started to ask my wife if she is looking for help fixing the nail or two. She just wants an outlet to vent. Story 61. For the love of God, if you are not good at communicating, learn before you are married. Learning as you go is difficult. Story 62. Look after each other, even if there are children. Ensure you nurture your relationship as husband and wife. Date nights may look different during the challenges of raising a family, but make them still count. Could be a quiet nightcap after the children are in bed. Ensure they go to bed early. You need some alone adult time. Finally, if one of you is done with the number of children you have, do not push for more. We stopped at 2 in unison. Your mental health and emotional well-being should always come before dreams and fantasies. Story 63. I have met 4 different couples who have been married between 25 and 50 years. They all said the same thing when I asked their secret. Have sex every night. Story 64. Happy wife, happy life is a cliché, but it is a cliché for a reason. Feels good when it feels good, so set it up to feel good as much as possible. Why not? Story 65. She argues as if she is right, but more often than not, she is not. Knowing when to intervene when she is talking to my mother and they are making snide, undercover comments. Do not have children just because she wants them. Story 66. Not just in marriage but in all relationships, always call the bluff or threat. I hate you. Sorry to hear that. I'm leaving. Okay, bye. I don't want your help. Okay, do it yourself. I might kill myself. That's a shame. I quit. Best of luck. I'm going to get you. I'm right here. I'm telling mom, teacher, the police, the boss, etc. Okay. Some people want to see how much of their nonsense they can pull you into. Once they realize you have better things to do, they give up on that. In marriages specifically, you see a lot of bad behaviors, probably split evenly between male and female, and it's easy just to accommodate someone's craziness or bad behavior, but that just doesn't work long term. Story 67. You can live together without being married. Being married is not something you should do just because you think you should. It is financially one of the worst investments you can make. Story 68. Be with her as much as you can before everything falls apart. Divorce is not a bad thing. It is an opportunity. Who wants to be together when you are old anyway? Story 69. Do the things you dislike doing poorly, incorrectly, and in the way you know your spouse dislikes, and if you don't know, then do the opposite of how they do it without ever stating you are doing it intentionally so they stop asking you to do it. For example, if they hang the clothes on the line legs up, hang them legs down. If they pack the dishwasher neatly, pack it chaotically. Take the clothes off the line, always a little damp, but not enough to seem intentional. Vacuum while they are home, but once done, pull out little clumps from the bag and spread them in small corner spots so it looks like you missed. Always forget items on the grocery list or buy the wrong brand. Give the impression you never remember dates so you don't have to organize anything. Do the above, and in a year or so, it will become the relationship baseline, and you'll only have to put the bins out every week. Make sure you do that task every time on time without being asked. Extra points if you get the kids to do most of the housework. Also, intimacy. Always make time for it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.